Welcome to Tarantula's Dream TV. You are watching a previously recorded broadcast. Tune in every Monday and Wednesday from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. on Instagram at TarantulasDreamTV for new episodes. And remember, it is a weird, weird world.
I may not be 100% right, but I'm a heck of a lot closer to the ultimate truth than anybody out there on the other side right now. We don't have an ideology that can compete with them. We have a belief, and that's it. How could all these hominoids be out there around the world? We fundamentally do not inhabit half of the arable land out there. We think we're great in their environment. We suck in their environment. We're up against a team, and we're a dysfunctional family. That team is the establishment of science. They don't take prisoners. The guys that are finding the pre-humans get the money. Follow the money. They do little tricks like bumping their shoulder up too high here because they got the whole bone here, bumping this one up equal to it, and then bumping this one up a little from this because they want that fingertip to be up around where ours goes instead of down about here where it actually belongs. What are humans? What are we? How do you account for us? Humans are not primates. Our bones are much thinner and lighter. Our muscles are 5 to 10 times weaker pound for pound. They all have 48 chromosomes, and we have 46. This is not evolution. Something happened. The evidence is jumping out all over the place right now. I don't think that's the answer, but they, the other side, all buy that. Charles Darwin himself said, when you come down to it, humans are more like domesticated animals than anything else. Keep the whole chromosome package there, but turn 2 into 1. Why? Somebody came here and designed this planet to suit them.
It is intended for the entertainment and instruction of broad-minded adults only, and should not be played to or sold to minors under any circumstances whatsoever. Thank you.
Broadcasting from the floating pie pan in the sky at Groom Lake Analog Recordings. Welcome to Tarantula's Dream TV. Now here's your host, Samba.
Hello everybody and welcome to Tarantula's Dream TV. I am your host,
Samba.
And you're here for another night of Bigfoot talk. Yes, we are getting back into Bigfoot. We left off with him running around the forest, just causing a whole heap of trouble. So we're going to get even deeper into the life of Bigfoot. You know, what do they do in their private lives? What kind of TV shows do they watch? Do they like coffee? Do they like tea? You know, what's the deal with Bigfoot? What is their deal? Phone number for the show is 520-704-7820 if you'd like to call in at 9:30, opening the phone lines to everybody. Open lines, so if you have any questions or if you just want to talk about Bigfoot, that is the time to do it, 520-704-7820. I hope everyone's doing okay out there in radio land and social media land. You know, a lot of stuff happening in the last couple days, so we're going to get into it tonight, but I hope everyone's down to have a good time tonight, talking about Bigfoot and maybe even some jerky, and who knows what we're going to be talking about. So thanks again for tuning in. This is Tarantula's Dream TV. I am your host, Samba. So yeah, before we get into the meat of the night, we're going to get into a couple headlines for you. So tonight, first one, sad news. New York Times. This is from the NewYorkTimes.com. Blasts rock Beirut, killing dozens and wounding thousands. Beirut. This is from Beirut, Lebanon. The blast came within seconds of each other. First, an explosion in Beirut's port, possibly from a fireworks warehouse, sent a plume of smoke billowing over the capital skyline early Tuesday evening. Then a much larger explosion from a building nearby shot a chrysanthemum of orange and red smoke into the air, followed by a massive shock wave of whitish dust and debris that rose hundreds of feet and spread out for blocks. The seaside capital rocked like an earthquake. Cars tumbled upside down and bricks rained down from apartment buildings. Glass flew out of windows miles away and roofs collapsed. By late evening, the health ministry said more than 70 people were dead and at least 3,000 wounded in the worst carnage to hit the city in more than a decade. For many of Lebanon's 5.2 million people, the images that ricocheted through social media recalled the scenes of urban destruction from the long troubled country's decades of war. So yes, very sad news coming out of Beirut in Lebanon. So our feelings and our hearts go out to the people of Beirut in Lebanon. Above me, I have the link to the Red Cross of Lebanon. If anyone would like to donate, I implore everybody to give a little bit over there. Now, the LRC is an independent organization. The money donated to them goes directly to them, and roughly 93% goes towards humanitarian aid and their work. They are not controlled by the Lebanese government. So rest assured, if you donate to them, it will be going to a worthy cause. Now, the second headline of the night is a local headline from KOLD.com. Governor Ducey meets with White House officials about COVID-19. Governor Doug Ducey is at the White House this week to meet with President Donald Trump and the White House Coronavirus Task Force. Senior administration officials said Wednesday Arizona is leading the effort to mitigate the effects of the coronavirus, but it has not come without its challenges. Gyms were forced to close due to the pandemic. This week, Judge Timothy J. Thomason with the Maricopa County Superior Court ruled the order to shut down gyms violated procedural due process, stating gyms should be able to apply to reopen no later than 1 week from the ruling. We've been in the unfortunate but unhappy but necessary business of dispersing large gatherings. We're working with all stakeholder group. We have no desire to shut anything down. We just want to take a common sense approach, said Ducey. So there you go. Our governor heading over to the White House to talk about COVID-19 with the administration as if they're going to do anything. So at any rate, that was headlines for the night. So let's get into the meat of the night. So before I start with the Bigfoot talk, a couple things. First, I had a voicemail come in, and this is very exciting. Haven't had too many voicemails come in, but this one I wanted to play over the air. They wanted to correct an error I was doing on Monday with the nomenclature, the terminology I was using with Bigfoot. So this is a voicemail someone left me, a viewer. This voicemail I like to dub Chip Time.
The thing about big feet is they actually don't like being referred to as feet. They prefer to be referred to as Bigfoot, similar to deer. Yeah, it's an unknown nomenclature by the general public, because why would they know? But yeah, that's what they prefer. Chip Time.
Anyways, that was Chip Time. So yes, apparently Bigfoot, the terminology is not big feet, it's just Bigfoot. So like deer, if there's a gaggle of Bigfoot out there, it is more proper to say just call them Bigfoot. Look at all the Bigfoot out there. There's 5 of them rather than look at all the big feet. So from here on out, if anyone calls them big feet, I'm just going to direct you right to Chip Time. So the second announcement I wanted to make is, unfortunately, my guest was not able to make it. My Bigfoot hunter that I had was promoting throughout the week, they unfortunately were not able to make it. So instead, I was able to get another guest on the phone. Now this guest is a local artiste. They're a comic book artist. They're just an all around great person, and I'd like to bring them on the phone. Ben Mackey, are you there?
Hi, Samba. I am here. Thanks so much for having me be Bigfoot number 2.
Oh, no problem. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. Just watching some Simpsons, so, kind of getting in the right headspace for Tarantula's Dream.
Oh, wow. Did you watch or were you on the air, or did you listen to the Simpsons episodes we had the past week?
I did, yes. I thoroughly enjoyed them.
So
I'm still thinking about the one with where they're in the museum with like the Hindenburg and then the potentially the Trade Center painting. That's the one that still got me spooked.
Yes, I would say that was the one that initially when I saw that, everything else is fairly explainable in some way, and you can kind of reason out that a lot of these kind of predicting the future things were just coincidences. But seeing that image of potentially the World Trade Center on fire a month before it actually happened back in 1993 was definitely spooky. So yes, it's still spooking me to this day. Now, before we get into the interview or the talks of Bigfoot, I want to get to some comments and see if there's any good ones out there, and see if they have any questions for myself or anything they'd like to say. Quiverlip, the dream is real. Quiverlip, oh heck yeah. Trial and Error Collective, Super Beast. Yes, Ben, you probably missed it because you were on hold, but I played Rob Zombie's Super Beast for kind of the intro song, the countdown song. I'm not sure if are you a big Rob Zombie fan, Ben?
I can't say that I am.
Okay, well that's unfortunate, and maybe I should have had you off hold and listening to Super Beast with me, and maybe that would have made you a believer. Lizzie,
is it a tribute to Bigfoot?
Yeah, oh yes, Bigfoot is the original Super Beast, I'd say. Well, I don't know if it's the original, but it's definitely the most pop culture of the Super Beast, I would say. Lizzie Mouse giving me some rock hand signs. Looks like we have another Rob Zombie fan. Quiverlip, more new, less you. Okay. Oh, all right. Sounds like Quiverlip wants me to turn this show into a new metal based program. Swindle Witch, what are frogs? Oh, yes, my favorite David Duchovny based meme. Is it a meme? I guess it's kind of a meme. I don't know. Are you familiar with the What Are Frogs David Duchovny meme, Ben?
I don't think so. The one I always think of is the one where he's staring at a cat that's like in like some sort of like wasteland place.
Yeah.
I just know the cat meme.
Yeah, that was from an X-Files episode where they were chasing a little boy off of a pier, and the boy disappears, and all that's left is a black cat. But the What Are Frogs meme is just it's like David Duchovny was on an episode of Jeopardy, I believe, and one of the answers to the questions, I don't think he even was the one who was up to go, but the answer was frogs, and he goes, "What are frogs?" And then I don't know. It's just it's a funny meme. Yeah. Trial and Error Collective. Not primates. Oh yes. So that was from the intro. Now Ben, later on in the evening we're going to get into to Lloyd Pye. He was the intro of the show, and he's he's not with us anymore, but he was like a Bigfoot researcher or sort of an ancient history researcher, and so he has some very interesting theories about Bigfoot that I'm hoping that you'll have something to say about once you kind of hear what they are.
Very exciting. Yes,
Lizzie Mouse, got to ask these questions. Yep, not primates. Eggs and eyes. Humans are just fancy animals. Yes, humans are just fancy animals. Quiverlip, need a full 12-inch, 45 RPM maxi single with at least 3 different mixes. Assuming you're talking about Rob Zombie Super Beast. I don't know if Rob Zombie ever put out any... well, I'm sure he put out some 12 inches. I don't know if he put out a 45 maxi single. And the last comment I'll get to for now, Trial and Error Collective, still don't understand why the entire species is called Bigfoot. If we're not referring to one monster, shouldn't it be Big Feet? See, that's what I was saying. I'm saying if we're going to be talking about Bigfoot as a species, why not call him Big Feet? I don't know if you have any particular feelings about that, but I'd rather call him Big Feet. But I had a voicemail today where the caller said that it's improper to call them Big Feet. It should be Bigfoot.
I mean, yeah, I guess, I don't know, just like using it in a sentence like, oh, look, over there, there's a herd of Bigfoot, or, oh, look over there, there's a herd of Big Feet. I guess I'm kind of partial to Bigfoot for using that as a plural. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Well, you know what? I'm not gonna jump down your throat about it, Ben. If you want to go with Bigfoot, it's I'm not for it. I'm for Big Feet, but you know what? Sometimes the guests, we don't agree. It's not a big deal,
and I don't want to create any more friction with your call-in people. So I want to
I feel you. All right, so it's about 9. It's about 9:15. So let's get into the Bigfoot, the big feat of the night. So what is your background with Bigfoot, Ben? Are you just sort of a passing fan? Do you have any history with Big Feet at all? Before I get into some of these wild tales and these crazy information about Bigfoot.
Well, I've been a pretty big fan of cryptids ever since I was in like middle school. One of our English reports is that we could do a report on any sort of like mystery around the world, and I chose to do mine on the chupacabra.
Oh, wow.
And so that kind of was like the first one to like kick it off. And you hear about Bigfoot like as a kid and stuff, but like researching the chupacabra was kind of the first foray into the world of more like technical cryptozoology. And so from there, it just started like a lifelong interest and fascination with all those cryptids out there in the world.
Okay. So, all right. So you do have like sort of a little bit of a knowledge base when it comes to cryptids, or you have an interest in them?
Yeah. And I've seen a lot of really trashy, like Bigfoot horror sci-fi films, Sasquatch films, Abominable Snowman films. Okay. So I have there's a panoply of Bigfoot fiction that I've seen. Most recently, the Leica animated Bigfoot movie.
Oh wow! How was that?
It was all right. I think it presented an interesting philosophical look at like the lonely Bigfoot, which I think is an interesting idea.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I would say if you're spending your time out in the wilderness, and as far as I can tell, I haven't seen too many reports of seeing a giant group of Bigfoot traveling. Right. It tends to be just the lone Bigfoot that gets caught on camera and then runs away, or I don't know. There are stories of even Bigfoot attacking people while they're camping or while they're in their cars or something. So it tends to be one. So I would say, if Bigfoot is lonely, I don't blame them.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, so I'm a cryptid fan. So I'm excited to talk Bigfoot.
Okay, well let's get into it. So the first thing I want to get into. So on Monday, I kind of got into more of the sort of the basic background of Bigfoot. The kind of one of the big proofs of Bigfoot that hunters and enthusiasts use are, I think kind of the basic the footprints, the tracks. Sometimes there's handprints, sometimes there's hair. So I kind of got into that on Monday, as well as the kind of the Patterson-Gimlin footage. Are you familiar with the Patterson-Gimlin footage?
That's like the really, really classic Bigfoot video, right? Where you see him off in the distance kind of doing the like arm forward shuffle. Yeah.
So I got into that. I showed that for a little bit, and in fact, I found out that they, when they're looking at this footage, they think that particular Bigfoot was a female, and they nicknamed her Patty. So I did not know that prior to researching the show. So it was actually a female Bigfoot, Patty the Bigfoot.
Fun fact. That's my sister's name.
Oh wow! Oh, okay. Well,
so I'm not saying I'm connected to Bigfoot, but
But you're connected to Bigfoot.
But I'm connected to Bigfoot, yeah.
All right, cool. All right, well, now that I know that you have a much deeper connection to Bigfoot, maybe this next thing will resonate. So, one of the things I wanted to get into was some more modern Bigfoot stuff going on within the last probably about 5 years. So this first thing was something called the Sasquatch Genome Project. Are you familiar at all with the Sasquatch Genome Project?
Is that where it's like they're vaguely? It's like they're trying to isolate what makes a Sasquatch gene, like through like hair and like samples, like essentially to say this isn't human, this isn't ape, it's something in between, to like prove it that way. So that's pretty much the gist of it. So I can skip it now that you've mentioned it. No, just kidding. So we're gonna get into it. So the Sasquatch Genome Project. Now that was founded by Dr. Melba Ketchum, and this is from MidnightInTheDesert.com. She is described as a moody scholar who attended Texas A&M University in College Station, where she received her doctorate in veterinary medicine in only 5 years. She practiced veterinary medicine until her interest in genetics led her to establish DNA diagnostics. She was also a visiting scientist at the University of Kentucky's Animal Genetic Testing and Research Laboratory on 2 occasions. Now, this is from Sasquatch Genome Project. The Sasquatch Genome Project, I'm just going to abbreviate it to SGP now, is a collaboration by an interdisciplinary team of scientists from independent, public, and academic laboratories, aided by volunteer researchers and supporters who seek to understand the nature of the indigenous Aboriginal people in North America, commonly known as Bigfoot or Sasquatch, primarily through the study of their DNA. So already right there, the kind of mission statement of the SGP lets you know what they're looking for, and essentially they think that Bigfoot or Sasquatch, they're interchangeable terms, are actually indigenous Aboriginal people.
Now, were you? Did you already kind of know that, Ben, that this SGP thinks that Bigfoot are essentially a form of people?
No, I did not know that.
Okay, well, that
seems to go down a potentially very problematic rabbit hole.
Yeah, it does, and so
yeah,
we'll keep going. So, according to the SGP, the Sasquatch are an indigenous Aboriginal people. Their maternal lineage is human, and their paternal lineage is an unknown hominid. Their genetics reveal no relation to Homo neanderthalensis or Neanderthal or Homo sapiens, despite their pop culture image as ape men. They have no more genetic connection to apes than we do. This means they are not related to the Pleistocene pangolin, once believed by many in the Bigfoot research community to be a likely ancestor. More research is needed to further understand Sasquatch genetics. So Sasquatch is a recently developed species. Haplotype analysis within the mitochondrial or the maternal DNA indicates that the species is only about 15,000 years old. Only a very small percentage of human remains in their nuclear or paternal DNA, which is primarily of the unknown hominid. They're getting at that essentially Bigfoot or Sasquatch are a form of humans, I guess, or people, and they're only about 15,000 years old, which is, not that old. I guess I didn't really know, what to expect. I didn't know if they were going to be running around with dinosaurs or anything, but 15,000 years old is really not that old, All right,
that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I would again. I'm not sure how old people kind of imagine Bigfoot to be. It seems like Bigfoot kind of came into prominence, kind of like a lot of conspiracy theory or paranormal stuff, like around the 80s and 90s. So the fact that they're saying that it's 15,000 years old, I mean, I don't know. I guess I haven't read many historical texts saying that. They were seeing giant hairy ape men. I don't know. Maybe are you into history at all, Ben? Do you know any ancient stories where potentially a Bigfoot creature was being told of or anything like that?
I mean, when I think of like cryptids in the Americas, as far as like ancient stories go, at least from like a Western Anglo-Saxon point of view, is like the reports of like the Jersey Devil, that like supposedly Napoleon shot at it with a cannon. But I'm sure there's, I don't know, there's probably, I don't know. I guess I don't know much about that. I mean, I find it kind of interesting because it seems like this can happen a lot with cryptozoology, where they take something that's kind of like held as this one thing for a very long time, and then, oh wait, that doesn't seem to be working, so it's actually this, and we can prove that. And then it's kind of like, well, is it really that thing anymore, or is it just something new? So I don't know. It seems a bit like they're kind of wiggling their way out of saying it's Bigfoot in a way. A lot of conspiracy theorists tend to do that, to try to fit the narrative. I mean, not to go down a dark path, but when a couple weeks ago I was talking to a guest about QAnon and kind of the fact that again and again their theories are kind of proven wrong, or these kind of prophecies that they have, just the date kind of goes by and nothing happens, and they have to reevaluate and kind of reform their narrative based around that. So it does seem to be kind of a through line with a lot of kind of paranormal or conspiracy stuff, especially with cryptids. So we're about 5 minutes to the break, so I do want to get to a few more of these Genome Project facts real quick before we head to the break. So after a 2010 appearance on Coast to Coast AM, Ketchum made an on-air request for the public to submit their own Bigfoot samples. In response, her team received hundreds of samples, with 106 samples being used in the project. Now, most of these samples were hair, with some blood samples obtained from Bigfoot attacks, including clumps of flesh. After a 5-year study of various purported Bigfoot samples, the SGP team submitted a paper for peer review, claiming that Bigfoot is a distinct 15,000-year-old species that is a cross between modern Homo sapiens and an unknown primate. Now, in a news release, Ketchum said, Sasquatch nuclear DNA is incredibly novel and not at all what we had expected. While it has human nuclear DNA within its genome, there are also distinctly non-human, non-archaic, hominin, and non-ape sequences. The paper was widely criticized by the scientific community, or at least among the ones who actually read it. The SGP had trouble finding a journal willing to publish the paper, so in response, they formed their own, the De Novo Journal
Journal of Science and published it themselves, which is already a little suspect. From the Scientist magazine, this is from Scientist magazine, Leonid Krugliak of Princeton University told the Houston Chronicle, to state the obvious, no data or analysis are presented that in any way support the claim that their samples come from a new primate or a human-primate hybrid. Instead, analysis either came back as 100% human or fail in ways that suggest technical artifacts. Now, despite the critical reception, Dr. Ketchum and her team are still hard at work analyzing new samples in the hopes that someday their work will be taken seriously and the mystery of the Bigfoot will be revealed to the public. Now, before we go to break, I do have a little clip of Dr. Ketchum. She was on this was back in 2015, and this was on ABC Texas, where she explains the research her team has done, as well as the struggles her team has faced. So let me play that clip for y'all real quick.
All right, back to that story that had a lot of people talking in the newsroom today of the video purportedly of Bigfoot. New video there. Dr. Melba Ketchum is a believer. She's also the director of the Sasquatch DNA Project. She's our guest this afternoon, and I'm sure that you get a lot of people who say, come on.
Oh, yeah.
What's this done to you? You said it's been actually kind of hard on you.
Oh, it's been rather painful. I was naive when I went into this. I thought science would welcome new information if it was available. I didn't believe it. I didn't think they existed when I started this.
But you do believe it now?
Oh, yes, I have to believe it. Not only does the DNA data prove it, but I've actually seen them at this point. Brought some of the people that were at our news conference, invited me, and I actually have seen them now.
Now, the DNA here that we're talking about, how was it found? How was it extracted?
There were a bunch of groups that were out to look and find the DNA, especially the Erickson Project with Adrian Erickson. They actually had a PhD on staff and a manager. They spent an untold amount of money to not only accomplish the video, but to collect forensically sound DNA samples. And my basics is in forensics, so the chain of custody was intact.
Well, now, the Houston Chronicle tested this, though, and they sort of questioned
No, the
your
Houston
findings.
Chronicle did not test it. The lab that they wanted us to share with did not test it. They wanted to look at some of the genome. They didn't even get the whole genome. They did a very cursory thing. They wouldn't even talk to me on the phone about it.
Now, people will look at the video and the pictures that we have, and it seems like it's always grainy or strange or what have you. How come it's never clear if this is out there?
They are a type of people. They're a human hybrid, we believe, and all the DNA evidence points to that. And they can elude us, and therefore, if you get it at all, it's going to be very fleeting. And though Adrian Erickson has absolutely gotten some beautiful video, especially a full facial shot where she turns and actually looks at you.
Who funds this? How do you get the money to go forward with this? Because there's so many people out there that just they don't believe in this.
Well, actually, the majority of the money came from an entrepreneur, Wally Hersom, out of Henderson, Nevada, and the other portion came from Adrian Erickson. They're both entrepreneurs, and they're interested in the subject matter, and were willing to fund the study because they wanted to prove that it existed and does exist. And we just happen to be the lab that ended up with it.
And yet there are a lot of people out there who still don't believe, so the work's not done yet.
No, I mean, they're not going to believe it. A lot of people are not going to believe till we have a body, but we're not pro-kill. They're a type of person. That's murder. So you cannot kill them.
Okay, interesting topic. Thanks for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you so much.
Colleen.
And there you go. That was Dr. Melba Ketchum on ABC Texas explaining some of the research her team has done, as well as the struggles her team has faced. So it's 9:30. So, Ben, I'm going to put you on hold for just a few minutes while I get to my song of the night, and then we'll come back and we'll read some comments, kind of get your take on some of this genome project stuff, and then we'll get into some theories of Lloyd Pye if you're down.
Sounds good.
All right. All right, so that's Ben. So we'll be back in a few minutes. So the song of the night is, we're still continuing our demos week over here at Tarantulas Dream TV. Now this song is by the band Hairbrain. The song's Planet X from their 2019 demo. So after I get back, it'll be open line. So if you have any questions for myself or the guest, Ben Mackey, phone number for the show is 520-704-7820. So stick around and I will be back after the song. go. That was the band Hairbrain with the song Planet X from their 2019 demo. So yeah, if you have any extra Planet X bones, any kind of paranormal bones, and you want to throw them their way, you can find them on Bandcamp. It's hairbrain.bandcamp.com. It's a 3-song demo. So if you have any, if you want to listen to 3 tight songs from those Astropunks, those local Astropunks, definitely give them a listen. Time is 9:33. It is open line. So if you have any questions for myself or my guest Ben, let me get him back on the phone. Ben, you there?
I'm here. Yep.
There we go. So we got Ben back on the line. Let me throw your picture back up there. I want people to know what you look like. There you go. So we're back. Let me get to some of these comments real quick and see if there's any cool hot takes before we get into some Lloyd Pie over here. So let me scroll back down. Hot dump. Sorry, I didn't. The username, Hot Dump. I learned that in college. The plural of Bigfoot is Bigfoot, like fish or moose. So, hello, Hot Dump, first time listener. And looks at another person who is agreeing with you, Ben, with the whole big feet versus Bigfoot debate. And looks like they're going with Bigfoot over here.
If you got Hot Dump on your team, you know you're in the right.
You got the hot dump. All right, so Trial and Error Collective. Oh, wow, how crazy. My question was exactly what the call was about. Lol. I'm not sure what oh, wait. Are you talking about the voicemail call? Yeah, they addressed it. They got on there and they addressed it. Celia, hi, Dad? Celia, you're waving. Is your dad on the line over here? Celia, is your dad on one of the... Are they tuning in? I don't know. Let's see. Quiverlip, your intro. Need a maxi of your intro and not Rob Zombie. Okay, well, maybe we can make that happen. Maybe we can get like a little lathe cut or something of Lloyd Pie kind of going nuts over there. Lizzie Mouse, best foot / worst foot content? I mean, Bigfoot I would have to go with Bigfoot being part of the best foot content. I don't know. Do you agree with me over there, Ben?
I mean, yeah, he's the king of feet, so he's gotta have best foot content.
All right, king of feet. All right, yeah. So Lizzie Mouse, best foot is Bigfoot. Worst foot? I don't know. Anytime people are like stepping on in like raw beef or something, I don't know. I don't want to yuck anyone's yum, but I'm not really into like watching people step and stuff. I don't know about you, Ben. Are you into feet, Ben?
No, not so much.
Okay, well there you go.
But if someone is, no hard feelings.
Yeah, right. No yucking anyone's yum. Just not my thing, not Ben's thing. But if you like feet stuff, that is it's totally cool. Trial and Error Collective Quiverlip. I believe the intro is a Psychic TV song, or maybe that was the last intro. Yeah, the original theme song for the show was Infinite Beat by Psychic TV, but because I wanted to start posting rebroadcasts and stuff on YouTube, I had to I wrote a new song. So actually the song is an original. I don't have a title for it or anything, but yeah, the song is definitely not Psychic TV. Eggs and Eyes. Oh, it looks like Eggs and Eyes already answered that question for me. So let's move on to some of these other comments. Bunny Millions. Hello, Bunny Millions. Harry and the Hendersons. Ooh, I love that film, Harry and the Hendersons. What do you think about Harry and the Hendersons, Ben?
It's a great one.
Excellent. Yes, I love it. Is John Lithgow in that film? He's the dad?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Excellent. So yes, I love anything with John Lithgow. He's great.
I believe the movie won an Oscar for the special effects.
They should. That was a great like Bigfoot costume and like the realistic facial movements. I'd say if anything's if anything, give them all the Oscars. Give them like let's give them Oscars now. I don't know. Is there? I mean, what's out right now that deserves an Oscar right now?
1988 Best Makeup and Hairstyling winner.
Excellent, thank you for that. Eggs and Eyes, like Slender Man got a movie and like an HBO deal a while back. Why no love for the Bigfoot? Well, I guess they probably figured that because of Harry and the Hendersons, that was the time to shine for Bigfoot. So I don't know if we'll be getting any more modern Big Feet movies or Bigfoot movies. Sorry, Las Muletas. I wonder where she gets her funding. Well, I mean, I played the clip. She said it was some private donors. So some private donors were giving money to Melba Ketchum and the Sasquatch Genome Project, so it was all private funding apparently. So there's some wealthy Bigfoot enthusiasts out there who are giving a lot of money to test this DNA. Eggs and Eyes, definitely humanizing for the likely misunderstood Bigfoot. Yeah, so I don't know if you caught that at the end of her interview, Ben, but she said that because she considers them human, that we should not be killing these things, we should not be hunting them, and we should not be out there trying to, get rid of them because they're technically human. So,
even if they're animals, we shouldn't be hunting them.
Honestly, if a Bigfoot actually showed up at your doorstep or showed up on a hunter's doorstep, the last thing I would imagine was you would want to kill this thing. I mean, I guess if you're going to trap it, okay, I guess that's better than blowing it away, but I mean, because who knows how many are out there. I mean, on Monday there was the question of, is there one Bigfoot, or are there a herd or a race or a group or whatever of Bigfoot? And it was my understanding that there's more, many more Bigfoot. So, but I don't know how many. So if we kill one, that could be a sizable chunk of their population. So I'd say let's not get rid of the Bigfoot over here. Trial and Error Collective question for Samba and Ben. I've listened to several Bigfoot sightings where people say they saw Bigfoot emerge and disappear from an orb of light like they're a mystical being. Thoughts? My thought on that is I'm going to kind of skip over some of the stuff that I wanted to talk about tonight, just because I want to get in. I think the Lloyd Pye stuff is pretty interesting and compelling, so I want to get Ben's take on that. But I was originally going to get into a guy named David Paulides and his Missing 411 series of books. Now, David Paulides is a former police detective, and now he's an author, and he also kind of created the research group, the North American Bigfoot Search, where he's still the director, and essentially they privately fund, or they're a privately funded organization that kind of goes out and researches Bigfoot. If you go to their website, I believe there's an email or a phone number you can call, and they can actually dispatch someone to your area if you have like a Bigfoot sighting, or if you have if you and your community have multiple sightings, they can get someone out there to do research and see if they can find anything. But his Missing 411 book series kind of details the large population of missing people in our national parks, and kind of one of the theories is potentially that Bigfoot is an interdimensional being, which is why they're able to kind of evade the human eye and kind of just disappear at a moment's notice and not be seen at all. And so the idea is potentially humans are also falling into these kind of these wormholes, or these things that Bigfoots come out of, or these dimensional rifts. So yeah, I wouldn't put it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if the idea of there being a Bigfoot out there is already pretty amazing thought. So if they're coming out of these dimensional rifts, or they're coming out of these orbs, I wouldn't. That would be fine with me too. I don't know, Ben, if you have any particular thoughts on that.
That sounds pretty cool. Giving Bigfoot a more mystical angle. Or potentially, if it's a bright light, could be an extraterrestrial angle. Something to do with extraterrestrial lighting and stuff like that. I know there's a few off-world series for Bigfoot's origin, but I feel like interdimensional outer worlds, they kind of tie into a similar concept of Bigfoot not being of any sort of human or earthbound lineage. So yeah. I think that's an interesting angle. I think it potentially helps explain some of the less explainable bits. So.
Sure. Yeah. So you know what? I'm going to give that my my seal of approval. I don't know if it's the truth. We're all out here just searching for the truth about Bigfoot. So I'll throw that in the possibility pile. I'm not going to dismiss the idea of Bigfoot being an interdimensional being. And last comment before we get back to the meat of the night. I will get to the rest of these comments. Don't you worry. Hot Dump says Hot Dump approved. So yes, again, being Team Hot Dump is the team you want to be on. So Hot Dump approved. Anyway, so before we get into Lloyd Pye, so Ben, right before we went on the break, we heard kind of an interview with Melba Ketchum from the Sasquatch Genome Project, and I kind of read a whole bunch about their studies in supposed Sasquatch DNA and their findings and their beliefs that Sasquatch is a 15,000-year-old kind of human ape hybrid. So I don't know. From a scientific standpoint, them not being able to get this paper published, having to publish it themselves, and when it's actually read by a Princeton University scientist, they're saying that it's essentially the DNA looks like it's either 100% human or it's contaminated. I don't know. Do you have any particular takes on this group's kind of work? If you feel like it could potentially be legitimate, or do you think that science just has a bias and just doesn't really want to accept the idea that science could be wrong and there really are Bigfoot out there and this research group is doing the Lord's work?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'd be curious to know more about what the original Bigfoot research group actually like how forward with information they were to these outside researcher groups, and whether or not they put in like good faith, like, here, we want you to test our findings, or was it sort of, I don't know, like, it feels easy to blame the fancy pants Princeton scientists for, quote unquote, not believing in Bigfoot, when it really could have just been like, even if it was Bigfoot DNA, like, maybe it just wasn't a good sample.
Sure.
So it feels like, I don't know, it feels like they're definitely favoring themselves. So it's hard to say. Like, I'd be curious to know more of like the actual, like, behind the scenes, how the interaction was done between the two groups.
Yeah.
Because in my head, it's like you need a lot more than just this. Like, it sounds like they didn't give a lot of samples to these outside groups. So it's like, if you're only giving very small samples, like, it's not going to create a very good case study for other organizations and researchers to look at. So it's kind of like you're shooting yourself in the foot if you're the Bigfoot people. It's like, of course they're not going to come back with yep, it's definitely Bigfoot. And at the same time, would they want Princeton to even say that? Like, I think there's a bit of I don't know, you get some more cred if, I don't know, you're a bit of like a scientific outlier or something.
Yeah. Well, at any rate, they're still out there. They're still doing what they're doing. They're still doing the research. As far as I know, Dr. Melba Ketchum, when she was kind of making the rounds, because I remember this was kind of big news in the Bigfoot or paranormal circles back in like 2013, 2015. I remember staying up late in the evening to listen to Coast to Coast AM, and they essentially almost had a kind of a Bigfoot update, I'd say almost every other day. It felt like at one point, it felt really exciting. So, when this kind of research was happening and they put out this paper, or essentially were saying that, yep, we studied this DNA and it came back positive for what we thought. It's a human-ape hybrid. And then it kind of, it kind of fell apart there at the end. So I'm still very interested in seeing kind of more of the recent work. But if you go to the website, the SasquatchGenomeProject.org or ORG, they update it, but it's kind of a hard website to kind of go through. It looks very 90s, GeoCities. So at any rate, let's get into some Lloyd Pye, because we're about 15 minutes to the end of the show here, and I do want to get your takes on some of this Lloyd Pye stuff. So Lloyd Pye, he was born in 1946 in Houma, I don't know how you pronounce it, Louisiana, which is evident by his glorious southern accent, which you will hear in a second. He was an American author and a paranormal researcher, best known for his promotion of the Star Child skull. And I actually have a picture of the Star Child skull. Now, unfortunately, Ben, you won't be able to see the skull right now, but maybe after the stream, if you want to check out the Star Child skull, or maybe you're familiar with the Star Child skull. I'm not. Do you know about the Star Child skull at all?
Yeah, it's the one that he took around to like various like lectures and conferences, and he's like, "Hey, this is not a human skull. It's something else."
Yes, he believed it was a proof of a alien-human kind of hybrid. So he did tour the kind of the paranormal alien UFO conference circuits with this thing. So I have a little kind of slideshow of that. But let me put your picture back up there. So he was famous for the Star Child skull, but he was also famous for his research and theories into Bigfoot. So he authored 2 books. One of them, Everything You Know Is Wrong, Human Origins and Everything, and he also authored Everything You Still Know Is Wrong, which are books that are described as products of years of research into human origins, spanning everything from the oldest known recorded histories of the world to modern genetic discoveries. In it, Lloyd Pye postulates his view of human evolution, now called intervention theory. This new theory stands separate from creationism, evolution, and intelligent design, and explains many of the conundrums left unanswered by those theories. The book contains endlessly fascinating insights into just how much of what we think we know is wrong, from the very beginnings of life to the highly inaccurate map we all accept as Earth's surface, to the evolutionary impossibility of the Cambrian explosion and the likelihood that Miocene apes walk among us today. This book provides any reader with a profoundly altered worldview. So Lloyd Pye's main conjecture in regards to humanity is that we humans are not natural creatures of the Earth. We are not suited for the planet, as we are horrible at adapting to our natural surroundings surroundings, opting to change the surroundings to suit our needs, and that the most likely answer is extraterrestrial intervention during evolution, creating man. The real benefactors of planet Earth and the true evolutionary species on this planet are ape-like creatures, namely Bigfoot. They are adept at hiding and therefore surviving underneath our noses in a way that shows they have learned to live in peace with nature. So what I want to do is I want to play a little kind of supercut of Lloyd Pye. I'm kind of running out of time here, so I'm hoping we can get to kind of your take on this. But the supercut was taken, or the video was taken from the 1999 International UFO Congress Winter Seminar, and his kind of talk was called "Everything You Know Is Wrong." And so this hour-and-a-half lecture goes into great detail about Pye's theory of evolutionary history, and this video is still widely available across the web. So if you just look up Lloyd Pye, "Everything You Know Is Wrong" on YouTube, you will find the actual hour-and-a-half kind of conference. So what I'm going to do is going to play a little supercut and get your take on that, Ben.
Let's take a look at a hominoid. Here we go. This is a statue of a Bigfoot Sasquatch type, carved in Willow Creek, California. This gentleman's about 5'7". I'm 5'11". You can figure that if that thing was here, his head would be up about right here. Okay, there are 4 kinds of hominoids. 4 kinds. We know of 2 in the West primarily. Sasquatch, Bigfoot, this kind, abominable snowman, Yeti, and then there are 2 other kinds that are dominant in other parts of the world that we don't know very much about, the Almas and the Agagwis. Whenever anyone sees them, their characteristics are described consistently the same. Wherever in the world, whatever kind we're looking at, when the person sees it, and frequently this is some very, very isolated native who doesn't even know that the rest of the world is out there, much less that these things are seen on other continents. And when they describe them, they always describe them the same way. They say, no forehead, huge brow ridges, big round deep-set eyes, big flat nose, although this one isn't so big, but big flat nose up against their face, mouth sticking off their face, no chin, head tucked down into their torso, very long arms dangling around their knees, very thick, muscular, robust bodies, and covered with hair from head to toe. Now, take away the hair, and what did I just describe to you to a T? The pre-humans. Am I right? You saw the skeletons. You saw the bones. The pre-humans. What does this lead us to believe? The pre-humans are the hominoids. The hominoids are the pre-humans. The pre-humans are the pre-hominoids. It's their ancestors, not ours. Okay, with that in mind, next slide. Let's take a look at a hominoid track, typical hominoid track. This is Bigfoot, 16 inches long, but taken in that really nice powdery dirt you get at the end of a hot summer, so it's a very clear, distinct print. Notice, if you will, the differences. We have a midline about right here, ankle shifted very far forward, heel extended back here and very much widened, forefoot shortened very much and widened, all 5 toes looking about the same shape, ironically, square, and all 5 toes acting as balancers, because you have medium all the way through here. So you're getting the forefoot thrust coming out completely of the ball area, which is dented in, and it's like a 2-part motion, sort of. So they have a completely different foot. It's a completely redesigned foot. Why? Completely redesigned creature. Much bulkier, much heavier, much denser, much more robust. So you need a different kind of foot. No arch is going to support that kind of weight, so you have no arch. Now, the funny thing about most real, quote, fake tracks is that the local yokels who make them make big human footprints and go out stamping those around. So, you know, immediately, they don't even have sense enough to know you got to do it, make a completely different foot. But the main thing to notice here is, remember, in our motion, we walk here, we go here, we do this, and we're very awkward. Look at the line of thrust here. Straight shot. What does this tell us? He walks right. He does it better than us.
There you go. So that was Lloyd Pye, and that was just a small, that was just a small taste of this hour-and-a-half long discussion that was at the 1999 International UFO Congress. with Lloyd Pye, now I'm going to kind of skip to the end here. He has passed away. He passed away back in 2013 from a long battle with lymphoma. But throughout his entire career, he very much held on to the belief that Bigfoot is alive. It's a real creature, and that it's actually the real evolutionary step, in the creatures of Earth. Essentially, that humans are not natural. We were seeded by UFOs, or potentially we were created by UFOs or extraterrestrials in some way, and that Bigfoot is the actual, they're the ones who are supposed to be here and kind of maybe be the dominant species. I don't know. So we have about 8 minutes left, Ben. I don't know if do you have any hot takes on that, or, I mean, this is a very interesting theory, and he held on to it all the way to the end of his life. So this was his life's work.
I mean, yeah, that's a pretty exciting theory. I've never heard it posed in such a way. So the idea is that, like you're saying, the Bigfoots are the natural progression, and that humans, we share a common ancestor, but like aliens came down and tinkered with these early hominids. Is that kind of what he's saying?
It's something like that. Now, he didn't, he was still a little... I wouldn't say confused, but he was definitely not clear in the idea of whether humanity was just directly created, like humanity was created from the ground up, or if I think he leaned more towards the idea that somewhere down the evolutionary chain, apes, somewhere down the line, or pre-humans, their DNA was tampered with, and then that was what created humanity, but the actual natural evolutionary step would have turned into like Bigfoot, pretty much.
Sure. Okay. I mean, that's an exciting theory. I mean, listening to him talk, I feel like I hear certain things that make me not trust him as much. I mean, he's spitting out a lot of details very fast, but the details are very surface, and he doesn't really cite any of his sources to sort of, I feel like, overwhelm his audience, and for them to be like, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about. Like,
sure,
this all sounds scientific and correct, and sure, yeah, like let's look at these visual examples. And he did another thing too, where he talks about the yokels making Bigfoot tracks. So he's creating this like dichotomy between these dummies making Bigfoot tracks and making the audience laugh at those people, sort of saying, but you're not dummies like them. You're smart and you're intelligent. So you're going to see, like, he's buttering them up in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And so to me, it feels very indicative of someone that's, maybe he honestly believes in what he's saying, and he's, trying to just, I don't know, have better rhetoric. But it also feels like ways that he sidesteps, like, real, tangible, like, oh, these feet look different, but, like, I mean, that could just be, causation without correlate or whatever. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean what he's saying. And he doesn't really go at lengths to prove that. Instead, he just kind of powers through saying a lot of things to get people on his side.
Sure.
So I'd be curious to listen to the whole thing to see how it all fits together.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it is still available online. It's not behind the YouTube algorithm kind of deprioritization. I mean, if you type in Lloyd Pye, Pye, P-Y-E, you can find it. It's probably his most famous talk, the one at the 1999 UFO Congress. So, Ben, if you're interested, I would check it out after the show for sure. Now, we have about 4 minutes left in the program, so I do want to just take a little glance at these comments and see what anyone has to say before we say goodbye to our friend Ben over here. Los Milet says, I bet the Koch brothers are behind some of the funding. Oof, yeah, that would be probably some of the worst Bigfoot news I could imagine. I really don't need we don't need the Koch brothers in our paranormal studies. Stay in your lane, Koch brothers. Eggs and Eyes, who can travel through time? Bigfoot equals like the apes in 2001: A Space Odyssey. Yes, who knows? Maybe Lloyd Pye saw 2001 in his childhood and kind of, it just left such a big impression on him that he ran with it later on in his life. I don't know. Eggs and Eyes, or just a fun prank aliens plan us when they get drunk. I don't know. Put on the hairy suit and wander around scaring campers. Well, you know what? Again, if they're coming out of kind of like time warps, little energy vortexes, I wouldn't put it past them. Maybe they are just kind of UFOs in suits. I don't know. Let's see. Eggs and Eyes. Will no one continue his work? He had no apprentice? A shame. How have we never found DNA? Well, it's kind of a multi-tiered question. So we will, his continued work will be kind of by the amateurs, I suppose. The armchair, the scientists. They're the ones who are going to be going through Reddit threads and 4chan threads and maybe even out in the field and trying to find the real answer to kind of be looking behind the veil with Bigfoot. And no, he didn't have an apprentice. As far as I know, he didn't have any kids or anything. So, no son or daughter to take up the mantle. And with DNA, well, apparently that's what Melba Ketchum and the Bigfoot Genome Project or Sasquatch Genome Project is doing. They're looking into supposed DNA. So we'll go with that. So anyway, Ben, we're at the end of the show. I want to thank you for calling in and kind of saving me a little bit as my Bigfoot hunter had to go search and hunt for some Bigfoot. So I want to thank you for calling in and kind of talking with me.
Yeah, totally. Thanks so much for having me. Maybe we'll get to hear an update from the Bigfoot hunter.
I hope so. They'll let me know soon. So anyway, you stay safe out there and avoid Bigfoot at all costs unless you got some jerky on you.
Okay. Thanks, Samba.
No problem. Bye-bye.
Bye.
There you go. That was Ben with just chatting with old Samba here about Bigfoot. Anyway, so that's the end of our show tonight. Thank everyone for tuning in. I'll be back next week on Monday and Wednesday with a hot new topic for you all. If you're going to go outside, please remember to social distance if you can. Wear a mask too. I mean, there's so many fun masks out there that I'm sure everyone has their favorite kind, their favorite design. So please do your best to stay safe out there, and I will see you all next week. Take care.